All right, everyone, welcome back into another NBA prop betting video. I have a live stream here for you guys. Hopefully getting all the top picks in here before the NFL slate starts here. I saw some pretty good edges once again, so I want to give you guys a live stream. So, hopefully everyone could benefit from them and hopefully they end up hitting. Now, we have Tyrese Maxey popping up as a very big prop line difference once again today. It's crazy that's happening, guys. So, let's just look at it. Underdog has his fantasy score at 50.4. Okay. We look at the prize push line at 45.5. This line is just crazy to me. Okay. It should not be happening. And now I know he's coming in off of kind of two poor games in a row. We don't like that. But he does get what I think is a decent matchup against Toronto here, a game in which last time out was able to get the over 51.6 fantasy points in that game. He is coming in off of two pretty, I don't want to say poor night shooting, but not necessarily great. And we do see, guys, 1 assist, 1 rebound. Obviously, that's not part of the norm for him. And so you do expect him to bounce back. And then the previous game against Washington there, only 28 minutes. So, that's kind of okay. We can kind of write that off. And so this ends up being a very solid over bet. So I did want to start with that bet. That's just a very, very solid bet overall. And I'm just reading some questions here. Yeah, we had some interesting games yesterday overall. Just in general, that Utah game, what the heck was that? That was crazy. Obviously, they're sitting a bunch of their starters, but interesting stuff there. But I want to keep going with some of these fantasy score prop line differences that we are getting, guys, because again, this should never be happening, and it is again. It's kind of weird. I think with NFL Sunday going on, this is just being overlooked between the two sites. So we got Sengun for his over fantasy score. Now, he is someone that might not end up playing tonight. Let's see here. Listed as questionable against the Kings. Okay, so, he could end up sitting, but if he does if he plays, I think we can, get him to the 33 projected minutes that we have him for. And we do kind of see the game log. It's been pretty solid, against the Kings earlier this season, was able to get to 53.5 points in away games, averaging about 46 based on the projected minutes. Should get the over as well. If we look at that recent game, obviously we don't care about that recent miss. Okay, he had 1 minute in that game, and then 28. And so the only thing I don't like about this specifically is that it's a 13-point spread. Maybe there does end up being a blowout, but like him and Maxey, just those are massive prop line differences, guys. Like I think we should be hitting the middles for both of them. But more specifically, I do like the overs on prize picks for those two. So wanted to start with those ones. And then, we're getting plenty of other ones, guys. So let's just go through these ones maybe on a faster pace here. So Banchero, I don't necessarily need to get to on either side. I wish I could give you guys conviction on this. Obviously we want to be betting on his over on prize picks. Of course. Honestly, it's not that big of a middle either, but it is clearly off. So I did want to call that out. If you guys have a take on whether or not we should get into either side of this, let me know. Decent game total, 234, decent point spread there. And if we kind of take a peek at this game as well, we are going to notice that the Magic are going to be without Suggs still. Wagner's still out. They could be without Carter and Isaac as well, which that could benefit Banchero. Okay, so I don't mind that. I do want to just talk about the Pelicans here as well, and then we'll jump into some more prop bets because the Pelicans are going to be without Bay and Herbert Jones still, and then Alvarado is out as well. So overall, guys, that's actually going to benefit another player where we are getting a decent prop line difference on. Let me just scroll through a couple of these real quick. Trey Murphy. Okay, so we're getting a prop line difference with his points, which, great. He has been someone that has been going off, okay? Recently over the past 3 games, just going off, and then one kind of somewhat bad game there as well. It wasn't a minute thing, just had himself a bad game. That'll happen. 3 for 11 from 3-ball range. I love the fact that he shot 11 3-balls, right? We love that. We love the volume of the 3-balls. He is someone though, per 36 wise, averages 25 points per 36, 7.2 rebounds, and 4 assists. His fantasy points, just as an FYI, guys, and we can take a peek at that as well. His fantasy points to me seem to be too low as well. No prop line difference with it. but he is someone that with those players off the court averages 44 fantasy points per 36. We haven't projected for 34. I actually like his over fantasy score much more than I do his over points, although those do go hand in hand. And, I kind of don't mind the idea of pairing that bet up there with Banchero. I think that ends up being a pretty solid kind of stack there in that game. So I did want to call out the Pelicans there. I do want to still continue on, though, with some of these prop line differences that we are getting. And now I'll get into the game-by-game breakdown. So it might end up being a little bit of a longer video, but I do think it's worthwhile because going through this process, even on the live stream, what was that, on Friday, someone asked about Aaron Wiggins, and then kind of going through it, I'm like, my goodness, this is one of the best bets on the slate. And shout out to whoever called that out. That was pretty good. Now that's why I kind of like doing these live streams. So let's talk about Edwards here. Anthony Edwards going against the Spurs. He's been, right around the overs here. He's pretty consistent right now. We do see that the data is telling us that he should be able to get the over here. Basically, the underdog or the prize fix line right now is just currently too low. And so I do end up liking this bet a decent amount. Don't like the fact that, in the only other game against the Spurs, 37.6. Let's actually take a deeper dive at that. 36 minutes there. Didn't really get a block or steal. 7 turnovers. Okay, so that's what's going to do it there, obviously. You get 7 turnovers and no blocks and steals. That makes sense. I mean, shoot, you take away 7 turnovers and he gets the over. You give him a plus edge in the blocks and steals to turnovers and he gets that over, which is something he typically does do. So that is an outlier. So yeah, I do like that one a little bit more. I'm okay against that over. And then we did have someone kind of mention the Heat. We are getting Tyler Herro, prop line difference on him. He ended up going off. I kind of mentioned that this was a bet that I liked a decent amount yesterday. Was him for his over fantasy score. It was a better spot. Okay, they get a matchup here with OKC, a matchup that I don't necessarily love. 14-point dogs in this game. I mean, that's just crazy. But not a terrible line there. I do like the over. I think we could still get there. I want to take a peek. Is Hawkes active in this game? That's interesting because he was questionable on the front end of the back-to-back, ended up playing, and now he's not questionable at all. So that's a little bit interesting. And then you have Herro, who's still somewhat, I don't want to say he's returning from injury, but it wouldn't be shocking to see him get a little bit less minutes. I don't know about you guys, but I kind of worry about that a little bit. Giannis, slight prop line difference with him. Phenomenal matchup for him going against Denver, with Denver being banged up. We had a call out here about Peyton Watson is in play every day as long as Jokic is out. We can take a peek at that game. Let's just do that real quick. After I show you guys, we'll get into that game in just a second. But I do like that call out. We'll touch on Denver here in just a second. But I did want to kind of finish with the prop line differences that we're getting here quickly with his fantasy score. A pretty massive prop line difference for him as well. We're being told to bet his over, 52% likely for this one to hit. And the reason why I end up liking this, guys, is we need to take a peek at their starting lineup as well. We got, here. Jakob Poeltl's out, guys. RJ Barrett's out. And then you also have Ingram and Scotty Barnes as listed as day-to-day. Now, it's not the highest scoring game, and it's a 4-point spread, but just with those players off the court, guys, Quickley is someone that does benefit there. And so looking at his per 36 production is 38 fantasy points per 36 with those players off the court. And we haven't projected for 33 minutes. His fantasy points go up by 2. His usage goes up by 4. And then if you were to tack on Ingram and or who was the other one there? Scotty Barnes. If he were to sit as well, I mean, you worry about the blowout risk then, but obviously Quickley picks up even more usage then. So definitely an interesting bet. And then real quickly, we will flip it around here. I haven't checked this yet. I'm kind of interested to see if we're getting any prop line differences the other way around. This is a good question. We're getting to CJ McCollum here in just a second as well. You would imagine he would get more minutes or at least the same. So I'll show you that in just a second here as well. But wow. Okay. So I really like this over here for Russell Westbrook on underdog, guys. We know they're going to be thin tonight, so Keegan Murray's out for them. You also have Dennis Schroeder out, and then you also do have Sabonis still out. Okay, so his per 36 production is great. We only have him projected for 30 minutes. There is blowout risk going against Houston. We know that, and it is a low game. Okay, so that's kind of the things we don't like. What we do love is the average is 43.4 fantasy points per 36 with those players off the court. His usage goes up by about 2.8%. Points go up about 4. And so we like that all. Fantasy points only go up about 2 per 36, which is not perfect. But, that stuff does add up. And to me, I think this line is clearly wrong on underdog. But, we could see it middling. This is not, a terrible middle bet. Honestly, I probably should use that bet. I know we're getting a gimme. I actually think we could do that. Maybe Maxey for his under and then Westbrook for his over on underdog. Okay. That should not be happening, guys. This is off by 4. We had 2 bets that are off by 4. That should never be happening. And so obviously on prize picks, we'd be betting less than there. And honestly, let's bet that middle. That should not be happening. That is crazy. And I know on Friday we had 4 bets that were right there. None of them middled. It was close. It was very close to being a very solid night with some of those bets middling. They didn't. I get that. But still, that's clearly a line difference. That should not be happening. Then another one that we have here is going to be Jamal Murray with his fantasy score. I think this one makes sense. He's currently questionable here going against the Bucks. And what's weird is they have it listed as a good matchup. And the Bucks are actually decent against guards occasionally, especially I think with Giannis back, where Rollins and Kevin Porter Jr. are able to have more they have more defensive attention. They're exerting more energy on defense rather than on offense, just with Giannis being there playing well on offense for them. And so maybe a little bit more of a difficult matchup. The reason why we're getting a big prop line difference is because of how potentially banged up Denver is. So Denver, guys, we know they're going to be without Jokic, Cam Johnson, J-Val. Murray's questionable, but they have Braun back, and they also do have Gordon back tonight. And so I kind of struggle with this one. I honestly, I probably do like the over still. I mean, his per 36 production would tell us he should be able to get the over for underdog, but the prize picks line is a little bit too high as well, especially, again, if the Bucks do end up playing a little bit better. We're getting an Embiid prop line difference. I mean, geez. I mean, how don't we bet this one? Honestly. This seems very good, right? Embiid under his fantasy score. Prize picks is almost the highest line. Now, the true line average, which is taking the average sportsbook line and then the percent likelihood for the bet to hit, that likes the over. So maybe Vegas has it wrong for Embiid is basically what I'm saying here. And obviously, prize picks is much more in line with what Vegas is thinking. But when we take the average projection, which is just his average minutes and his player average divided by each other, times it by his projected minutes, he would still get the under. DVP adjusted, which is taken into account his projected minutes, and the matchup, that's lower. Total projected, all the data points that we have coming in, lower. Underdog line, lower as well. That I actually like for the under. Now, what I don't like here, guys, is I'd never like to go against what the data is telling us to do, right? Vegas is actually telling us this bet has a 50.7% chance for the over. And so ultimately, I do hate to bet on the under. I don't like going against Vegas there, especially on prize picks or underdog where you just don't need to do that. We're getting plenty of other bets where we could just place those bets and feel pretty good about it. But that's appealing. I mean, that's the split. I mean, even against Toronto last time out, did not get the over. Now, we should take a peek. How many minutes did he end up playing against Toronto there? Okay, so significantly less, 5 less minutes. And so that does matter. Obviously, you give him 5 more minutes, so he probably does get the over. And then from there, I mean, we're still getting a decent amount of prop line difference, guys. KD for his over fantasy score on underdog would be a little bit more appealing. If you do that on underdog, you're giving yourself a little bit leeway there for that to hit. Jimmy Butler, same thing. He gets a phenomenal matchup, although he's been pretty hit or miss. I get the prop line difference there. And then Jalen Brunson as well. He's been kind of cold lately. Kind of falls under Embiid, I would say, as well there. But lots of big prop line differences, guys. But let's get off of the table view. Let's go ahead and get into the card view. And let's take some of these questions. So apologies, guys. I know some of these were asked quite a bit ago. But let's talk about Denver here. Denver and the Bucks. Okay, so Kevin Porter Jr. is listed as day-to-day. I think he's going to be good to go. Not too worried about that. But again, with Denver, we do worry about the minutes here. Spencer Jones, day-to-day, expected to play, expected to get significant minutes. Aaron Gordon, I do think we're getting some interesting bets for him. Deron Holmes has been pretty hit or miss, but we did have someone mention Peyton Watson. So we do see he's projected to get a little bit more run than obviously what he typically gets, and that's due to J-Val being out. That's due to Jokic being out, and that's also due to Cameron Johnson being out. And so that stuff does all add up there. But again, I do think that the lines are already adjusting correctly here because we've seen this a significant amount. That being said, if Murray were to sit, that becomes a little bit more appealing. Maybe Gordon sits. Some of the bets become a little bit more interesting. Now, it is worth calling out Peyton Watson's production because it has been pretty darn good. Let's see here. There we go. Just realized I did not. I gotta flip the data here real quick, guys. Got to go back to the highest edge percent. Give me 1 sec. So we do have Peyton. Okay, all right. I'm convinced. Good call out. So his fantasy score is a 53% likely to hit, and the underdog line here is at 31.4. All the lines are telling us to bet the over. Decent matchup, and I think this is a good matchup for him. He's been crushing it. His per 36 production, guys, is 40 fantasy points per 36, 24 points in total. So like his points line, honestly, is probably a little bit too low. Again, he's been crushing it. Now, yes, with Murray on the court, that does take away a little bit of usage, but that's fascinating there. Good call out. I like that one. Let's get to that one. Very good call out. Let's hope it hits, right? Let's finish off Denver here, and then I'll jump into the CJ McCollum and that spot here. Aaron Gordon, we are getting for over his fantasy score. I think this is another one that's pretty darn solid. We have him projected for 30 minutes. If he ends up playing 30 minutes, I do think he does get that over. Not the highest scoring game total, which I don't necessarily love. And I'm curious, what's his game log? So 24, 23, and 21. So this is a pretty big bump in his minutes, right? But the fact that he has been able to get to the overs, well, we have him projected for 30 minutes. And in those other games, he was getting 24, 23, 21. I actually ended up liking that a decent amount. Let's see. Yeah, he's had a decent amount of games where he has gotten 30 plus minutes this year. Has he? He's a couple of games where he didn't get the over. But for the most part, typically getting the over, we can see here 75% of the time, guys, when he gets to the projected minutes, he averages 31 fantasy points. And his per 36 production, very limited sample size. I mean, we're looking at 70 minutes, but averages 40 fantasy points per 36. And again, we only have projected for 30 minutes. But that's appealing right there. I don't know about you guys, but that's appealing there. Spencer Jones, not terrible. Not terrible. Which, just a little side note, very, very long side note here, but I don't know if you guys watched the TV show Fallout at all. It's a great show on Amazon. I would rank that in my top 3 current shows going on right now. Severance being probably 1, Silo number 2 on Apple TV, and then Fallout probably number 3 right now. Active TV shows that are at least being renewed for seasons. Anyways, that got me into playing a stupid app game on my phone called Fallout Shelter. And I just realized now, like my main character in that, the character that I made, their name is Spencer Jones. And now I realize why. It's because it's an NBA player. Something in my head was clicking in there to name familiarity there. Just kind of a weird side note there that I just realized now. Great show. Don't play the game. It eats up too much time, honestly. It's a little strangely addicting. But anyways, here, guys, I don't mind his over fantasy score. 9 minutes in the last game. Obviously, we don't expect that to happen. If he ends up playing, it's really not a bad spot. Again, we have him projected for 34 minutes. We do see in games where he gets over or around 34 minutes, he's getting the over pretty consistently, averaging 20 points. So I do think that ends up being a pretty interesting bet there as well. And then that's kind of it. I mean, Rollins, I do think this line's too low for him. But again, with Giannis being back, it is kind of hit or miss with everyone else. It is Kevin Porter Jr. next, and then it is Rollins. Then it can be Turner. Then it can be Kuzma. Then it can be Porter. It is kind of a guessing game. It's Giannis and then probably Porter and then Rollins, but only in a game stack would I get to him. DeRon Holmes, he should be able to get the over guys, but he's been brutal lately. Just not getting as many minutes as he has been projected to get, typically speaking, and just not producing. So probably not getting there. All right, so let's jump on into Washington here. There we go. So Trae Young's team, right? Still such a weird trade. So yes, Trae Young's still out. We need to take a peek at the projected minutes. Nothing too crazy there. Wait, I'm going crazy here, guys. Apologies. Is he not starting? Am I going crazy here? Oh no, he just got traded to the Hawks. That's right. Jeez. I'm talking about Trae Young there, of course. I'm like, what is going on here? Let's see. Is he playing? 18 minutes. So we're not betting on CJ McCollum. That is a guessing game. My bad, guys. Too many games going on right now. Are we even getting lines for him? Give it a little second to load here. Yeah, I wouldn't bet on. We are. We're getting some lines, but yeah, we're not getting any books coming in. Let's see. Yeah, with 18 minutes, I don't know. It is a good matchup. It's a guessing game. I mean, if you think he's going to get more minutes, maybe bet on him. Huh. I know the question was specifically rebounds. I don't know. I probably wouldn't. I mean, if he does get 18 minutes, I mean, the minutes are typically pretty reliable. I just probably wouldn't mess with it. Let's see here. So again, a question from 12 minutes ago. Apologies for the lateness of answering the question, but let's take a peek here. And shout out to everyone that's still watching this video with the NFL game going on. Love it. Over points and rebounds for Coward. This is interesting. Obviously, we like the game log for him. Tough matchup, maybe blowout risk. Lower scoring game against Brooklyn. Brooklyn's without Kevin Porter Jr., but also Memphis guys. They're without Edey, John Morant sitting. And so Coward is someone that does benefit on a per 36 basis. He averages 1.5 more points per 36, but actually averages less rebounds. The better bet for him would probably be over points and assists. He averages 1.6 more points. And so this would be the better bet, I would think. Let's see here. Per 36 wise, about 4.9 assists and then 19.4 points. Do we have an over bet for him? Maybe just his over PRA, maybe just his over points. Fantasy score, yeah, I would say those are a little bit too tight, so probably not getting there. Curry assists. Let's take a peek. All right, so at least the data's telling us it's an over bet. Not terrible, just instantly looking at it. I don't mind it. Obviously been hot recently. High game total, that's really what you like there against Atlanta. 51.3%. I don't mind it. I won't talk you out of that. Pretty solid. See, we're getting back into the field goals attempted bets here. Let's see. Tyler Herro, field goals attempts. I don't even know if we're getting that pulled in here, but let's see. Okay, I see what you're seeing there. His recent game log. But why even, I guess I get it. Why even do that when you can do his fantasy score, right? I mean, it's the same thing, pretty much. Let's see, his points line has been adjusted. That's an interesting call. I don't mind that. That's interesting. Duval. Man, I really don't know what to think the NFL playoffs. I feel like anyone can win it, especially after the first two playoff games. I mean, pretty crazy stuff there. Personally, I feel like the top two teams on both sides, you can't trust them, right? Or even the top three teams on both, like you can't really trust them. So that's what makes the playoffs fun, I think. Embiid is out. Wow. Embiid. So I do wonder, have the Maxey lines updated? Because that's some big news. So obviously Embiid being out means that Drummond probably starts. Barlow maybe at the 4. Paul George might be a good bet. Hopefully you guys got to this over bet. Let's just recap this spot here as well. And I'm going to take a peek at directly the per 36 production for Maxey with Embiid off the court. Yeah, so Maxey, guys, per 36 with Embiid off the court averages 49.5 fantasy points per 36. So he's very appealing. I want to take a peek at George as well. What's interesting is like when I show you guys those bets, it's like I never know which site's like truly wrong. Yeah, I mean, sometimes you do. Sometimes you definitely do. But it's just worth calling out the prop line differences. I would like, and what I mean by that is you never know which site's going to adjust their line, like which site thinks they're wrong. Sometimes it's both. But I think the prize picks line, it definitely probably gets bumped up now. It'd be interesting to see where the underdog line goes. And then for what it's worth, guys, Paul George benefits a lot as well. Per 36 wise with Embiid off the court does average, I want to see 5 more points per 36. Usage goes up by 6.4, averages 5 more actual points as well. So just in general, he's appealing to me as well. So I would imagine this number is going up, but 14.5 points, you definitely want to bet the over there as well. His per 36 production is about 21.5 points. Now, what is Kelly Oubre's back? Not going to get all too much minutes, guys. Only projected for like 18 minutes, but that could be a little wrinkle as to maybe why either of those bets don't hit. Maxey and George would be with Oubre being back. Good shout out. Love that. Good shout out. I like that. Good call with the field goals attempted. I like that. It was appealing. All right, so I think we can finally get into a little bit of the game-by-game breakdown I was kind of trying to do. That's why I wanted to do the live stream, but we'll see here. Well, here, one more second. We were getting an ideal bet when I started the video, and so I probably should have started with that. So ideal bets is when we have a bet that's like checking all the boxes, guys, just like literally an ideal bet. Oh, this is a new one. Bit crate. That's actually interesting. So he's projected for only 18 minutes here. He probably would see less minutes, right? When he does get the under minutes here, or when he does get 18 minutes here, he does average the under 6. Or was that 56% of the time, averaging 7.6? I don't like the high scoring game here, but that's fascinating. Yeah, I actually think we could get to that one. That's not bad. I like that. This is a different one. Mitchell Robinson, guys. This was a bet that I was looking at to get his over. It's been slightly updated, so not necessarily a must bet by any means, but not bad. If that's still there, I think we like it. Projected for 20 minutes. Good matchup, close game. I like that. I think that's a decent bet. So want to call that one. And then Sandro as well. I don't mind this one if he does end up getting 23 minutes. It's not a terrible matchup now with Embiid being out, obviously going against Drummond. That's going to help him out a bunch. And so that becomes a little bit more of an appealing bet. And so I did think that was worth calling out as well. But yeah, let's get into a quick game-by-game breakdown because this video, it's a live stream going a little bit long here on Sunday, but I don't know. I like covering it. Guys, if you do want some more coverage, maybe for like NBA DFS, I'm going to be going live on the Occupy Fantasy channel as well, YouTube channel, covering the NBA DFS slate there for DraftKings and FanDuel. So if you're interested in that, check that out. It's at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. So just, worth calling out. Interesting bet here with Micah Peavy. He is someone that could get more run than what he's currently projected for. It is a guessing game there. Okay, so like lots of minutes there, not as much here. Let's see the minutes. So even when he does get this projected minutes, not necessarily a hit. So maybe we don't get there. Jordan Hawkins, interesting here. How many minutes? Yeah, he got. Yeah, I don't want to mess with the minutes there as well. Anthony Black, he's fallen off a little bit recently. He's someone that was crushing with Suggs and Wagner off the court. Good matchup. Maybe a game stack bet. Yusuf, was he projected for 19 minutes? Yeah, we don't want to mess with that. But again, decent spot there. Let's jump into the Nets versus Grizzlies. So just to recap here, guys, I kind of mentioned this in passing. Brooklyn's going to be without Michael Porter Jr., so they have a lot of usage open up. And then Memphis without Edey, Concher, Morant. I mean, a lot of players out still for them. And so in theory, we should be getting some good bets. I don't like that Danny Wolf's popping up as a potential overbet, about a 52.6% chance for his fantasy score. And really all these lines are seemingly correct, I would say, actually. So like for Memphis, we already mentioned Coward. Don't mind that. I like that one. After that, I don't actually think we're getting much here for Memphis. Cam Spencer, are we getting anything for him? Nah, his lines are pretty much correct. I mean, yeah, if he gets more than 23 minutes, he should be able to get the over. I don't want to mess with anything else there. Let's take a peek at Brooklyn. So Brooklyn is going to be without Michael Porter Jr. And so like Danny Wolf does average about 3.8 more points per 36. Like we like that. Cam Thomas is back. Cam Thomas projected for 23 minutes. And what do we do with that? Honestly, I don't like that. I actually don't think I don't think we get to anyone here. I was hoping we'd get some overbets that were popping up that would like kind of confirm who we should be on. Like even Sharp. I don't think we can really trust him. 17, 30, 22, 30. Like, I don't think we want to mess with that. So we'll jump into another game here. Kind of rapid fire here, just because, again, kind of going long here. If you guys have any questions, get those in. Happy to answer those. Prize pulled all Philly lines. It'll be interesting to see how fast they put those back up. It makes sense why they would. Again, it did seem like their lines were a little bit too low already, so that's nice. Yeah, that's the whole point of the live stream, right? That's literally why I wanted to go live today, was to get those edges out to you guys. So hopefully you guys were able to jump on those. But yeah, let's take a peek here because I really like Mitchell Robinson for over 3.5 points. Sharp for over his fantasy score to me is appealing as well, guys. Slight prop line difference between the two sites, just as an FYI. So a much better bet on Underdog. If you guys are someone that bets on both sites, much better bet there on Underdog. We see his game log, not the best. We'll say that. 31 minutes is what he's projected to get, which I think could end up being more than that. Not the highest scoring game, but not terrible. And then a 4-point spread. So we like that decent matchup for him as well. And so I think that all kind of looks good for him in general there. I think he has a good chance to go off. Now, the one concern that I have is Drew Holiday is probable, but he's going to be limited minutes wise. And in a weird way, having Drew Holiday on the court could end up helping Sharp. Like it will take away some usage, but Holiday's a great ball player and it could help the game stay close. And I would imagine that's why it's only a 4.5 point spread. And so, we can actually trust the minutes to be there for Sharp. I don't think we'd want to get over his 2.5 assists, but although that's not a bad bet. If you're someone that doesn't like betting on fantasy score ones, you could get to that. Denny Avdia, his usage come down a little bit with Holiday on the court. Probably don't want to mess with that. Hart, he's projected for 30 minutes. I will say if he gets 30 minutes against Portland, that's interesting. He's questionable? Yeah, we don't know for sure whether or not he's playing. That's appealing. That's appealing there. Let's see. We'll jump into another game. Yeah, so we already mentioned Philly versus Toronto. Again, I think Sandro's a little bit more appealing now with Embiid out for his over fantasy score. Don't need to rehash that. We'll jump into Miami versus OKC. So OKC has gotten a little bit healthier now, and so again, they're pretty heavy favorites, guys. 14-point favorites. It's a higher scoring game, so like we like that. I just don't think we're going to get anything worthwhile here. Yeah, Josh Hart should be on a minutes limit. I would imagine like 25 to 30 minutes is kind of what to expect out of him. I would say the 30 minutes is on the higher end, honestly. Um, but even if he only gets the 25 minutes against Portland, it's a pretty interesting spot. I don't mind it. But yeah, let's take a peek here at Miami. I'm just going to do the best bet. So Jaquez, like, again, if I could trust that he's going to get his full allotment of minutes on the back end of a back-to-back where he was questionable in the previous game, I'd be all for this. And overall, I do think we can trust it. Don't necessarily love this little stretch here where we got 3, but good matchup here for his rebounds to get the over. Don't love the 14-point spread. That could limit his minutes as well. He is someone that if there's a blowout, he would lose some minutes as well. So that's a concern. But we do see away games. He's getting about 5 based off his projected minutes, 5 as well. So it's really not a bad bet. I think we could even get to his over of 4.5. I know a lot of people are betting on traditional sites. Really not a bad spot there. And then these ones. It's funny. Like I would agree individually that these are good under bets for all these players because everyone's healthy for OKC. But as a group, I would say they're not. Like they're all going to see a reduction in their production. Nice. Minutes wise, usage wise, it makes sense. Mitchell is going to be down. Wiggins is going to be down. Wallace is going to be down. But like the fact that all 3 of them were being told to bet the under, I bet one of them gets the over. You know, like they're not, it's especially in a 14-point spread. Like I don't necessarily love that as well because then you get, I don't know, Wiggins or Mitchell getting a little bit more run in a blowout. I do agree, though. I agree that we would be betting their unders. And I probably would agree that like Wiggins would be the one we'd want to get to the most. I don't see a full appeal of getting to that. We'll jump into the Spurs versus Timberwolves, guys. The only player that's out is Gasol for the Spurs. The Spurs here, I would say this is the only bet that I like, Wemby. We have seen his minutes, start to tick up a little bit here. Projected for 29 minutes. And against Minnesota, they probably do need him to get that many minutes. We see this game where he had 15 recently, guys. A decent amount of minutes, 7 for 15, not that good there. 0 for 3 from 3, and then 2 for 4 from free throw range. I mean, that typically tells us the story that we need to see. Just had an off night. And so given the fact that he has a good matchup, given the fact that all the data points are basically telling us to bet the over, I don't mind that spot. Other than that, really, really not too much. Yeah, Julius Randle, I don't want to mess with there. Let's see. We'll jump into another game. Already mentioned Milwaukee versus Denver. Again, I really like the Peyton Watson call out. That was solid. I will say, if Kevin Porter Jr. is out, it's probable. Okay, so I don't know because did you guys watch the Lakers game at all? He went for like a steal on LeBron, the cross face and try to swipe when you're going across. And he was like pulling on his back. That's been an issue for him. That's kind of what plagued him at the start of the season. And so there is a possibility that flares up again and maybe limits his minutes. And the point is, Ryan Rollins and that 30.5 for his fantasy score would end up being an ideal bet. So I don't think it's really worth the risk there because I do think, if Porter's active, he's going to be good to go. If he was questionable, I would say, yes, let's take on that risk. Rollins could still get the over even if Porter plays, but probably not worthwhile there. And then again, just Peyton Watson. I like that call out there, guys. Trae Young still out there for Washington. And George is active in this game. And then for Phoenix, they are getting a little bit healthier as well. 14-point spread. I mean, that's crazy. You trade for Trae Young and you're 14-point dogs. I mean, that's funny. He's not playing, though, obviously. 230 game total. We'll take a peek. Nah for unders, rebounds, not messing with that. Dyson Daniels, not messing with that. Let's see if we're getting any other ones other than the best bets here. Oh, yeah. That to get under his points. Yeah, very solid bet there, guys. Post. Huh. I mean, it's a good matchup. 18 minutes. I don't mind that. I know I just passed up on Washington versus Phoenix there. Apologies. I'll jump into that. But interesting there. Yeah, let's jump back. Let's jump into the correct game. No, not getting to Collins for his overs. Those suck. Let's do best bets. I'm not getting to Middleton. I think there's a potential that Middleton gets more than 21 minutes. Obviously, the blowout would mean that he does probably get the under here. If it's not a blowout, I do think him playing well would be part of the reason as to why. Yeah, I would actually probably agree with like a lot of the unders for Washington. Mark Williams for over 12 points. I just think these are correct. And so we'll get into the last game. Obviously, I just touched on Atlanta versus Golden State. Kind of mentioned this game already, Houston versus Sacramento, guys. But like Schroeder's out, suspended. Murray's out, Sabonis is out. And so we'll touch on them. And then you do have Sengun still out, but it could potentially be back. Let's see the update on him. Yeah, listed as questionable. And so we were getting a prop line difference with him. If he sits, I mean, KD's lines are very appealing. So let's spend a little bit of time on the Kings because I do think it could end up being worthwhile. So for DeMar DeRozan, we'll start with him. He is someone that does pick up a decent amount of usage with those players off the court. Again, Murray, Sabonis, and Schroeder. He picks up about 1 assist per 36 more, where it gets to about 4.6 per 36. So the fact that we're being told to somewhat bet is over 51.5% chance, I don't mind that. Did crush it against Houston last time out. His over fantasy score is not a bad one as well. We see his game log recently has been solid. Got the over against Houston recently as well. Per 36 buys, again, he averages 42 fantasy points per 36. We have him projected for 35. Terrible matchup. Potential blowout risk in a lower scoring game. And so even if you were to knock down his production based off of that game, I would probably put his line closer to like 34. And guys, underdog has it at 30.3. I mean, that's pretty appealing there. And I think, and I could be wrong, but I think that underdog is overvaluing the matchup too much. That's what the data is telling me here. And they're not properly valuing the likely increase in production for Westbrook, for DeRozan, with those players off the court, with Schroeder off the court specifically. Now, part of the equation could be LaVine just gets a little bit more run and gets a little bit hot. Like that I don't like. If he was out, obviously, I think their lines would be much higher than the other two players. LaVine is someone per 36 buys, averages 36.5 fantasy points per 36. We know that most of his production is based off of his points, though. And so I don't mind the idea of betting on LaVine for over his points. He averages 25 points per 36 with those three players off the court. And if we look at his recent game log, guys, 30 minutes in his last game did not get the over. 37, 36 got the over. And then terrible night shooting for the most part a few games ago. But, for the most part, when he does get the minutes and then in away games, typically does average the over. So I could see doing a bunch of slips with 2 out of those 3 for the over fantasy scores. And obviously on underdog, do it on underdog if you're going to do that for all of them. Okay, so yeah, underdog's just probably not valuing them properly. But like you could do LaVine, Westbrook, LaVine, DeRozan, Westbrook, DeRozan. And that could end up being the wrong call. Okay, but I do think there's a good chance that 2 out of 3 end up getting that over. And then obviously you're going to attach that to another bet. And then, not a bad way to kind of game underdog today by doing that. Oh, very nice. Yes, guys. Let's leave some likes, subscribe as well. Then at the end of this video, make sure to leave a comment saying how awesome the live stream was and how excited you guys are for another live stream. Honestly, that little stuff like that does help out the channel a decent amount. Let's see here. I think we're pretty much done, though. That was the last game. Maxey up to 49. So they corrected it. Okay. So again, that's why I wanted to do the live stream here. I didn't want to refresh it because I had a bunch of generated bet slips ready to go here for you guys, but I will refresh it here real quick. And then we can see if we're still getting some decent. I mean, I know we're still getting some good bets. I covered a lot. I wanted to give you guys a bet slip though. I mean, not as much. I mean, Sandro is still popping up for a good over fantasy score, guys, as I'm looking at it. Give it like 10 more. Give me like a minute or two more here just to see. I don't think. I mean, it's really only that game that we're going to see those big prop line differences with. And I'm catching it in a refresh. It refreshes at 12:30. That typically takes about 2 or 3 minutes. So I'm gonna end it here in a few minutes here. So probably not enough time. But Sengun, we're still getting a prop line difference for. I'll pull it up here real quick. So we are still getting some prop line differences. So Sengun, again, if he plays, I like his over on prize picks. Banchero, I mentioned that already. Probably a little bit of a game stack bet. Herro, again, we're getting his. Shout out to the field goals attempted comment earlier. And then, yes, with Toronto, I kind of like Quickley a little bit more. But they have kind of corrected some of those prop line differences that we're getting fantasy score-wise. Then we'll flip this around. Then again, guys, I will be going live on the Occupy Fantasy YouTube channel at about 4 p.m. Central to cover the NBA DFS slate. So check that out, guys. And again, I probably will be trying to do live streams at about 11 or 12 or so. It really depends on the slate. I tend to like to do live streams, but also I like to do. It really just depends on the slate. Like if it's worthwhile, like today, where we're getting edges, that probably will be updated. I love giving you guys the live stream. If I think the lines are going to change too much, I do think it's a little bit more professional to do the standard video. So always depends on the slate, but I do want to try to get some more live streams out there. So guys, hit the notification bell so you're not missing out on the live streams. Again, when I go live, it's typically because we're getting some pretty good edges. But yeah, Westbrook, we are still seeing a prop line difference, guys. Paul George, this one's updating. So I would still probably bet his over. Again, this is going to update. I would still probably bet his over at 17.5 points though. That's wrong still. Jamal Murray, we're still seeing a prop line difference for, guys. I would bet his over on underdog still. Yeah, Max is updated. Durant, we're still seeing a prop line difference for. Again, I don't mind the over there on underdog as well, especially if Sengun sits. That bet ends up being a much more appealing bet. But guys, that is going to do it for this video, guys. Appreciate you guys being here. Make sure to leave a like on your guys' way out if you guys haven't done that. Subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't done that. I'm sure if you're watching the live stream or if you're tuning in on X, you guys are already following, but show support. That does help out the channel a decent amount. If you guys are thinking about maybe joining 9to5sports.com, you guys can get access to that tool that I was showing you guys throughout this video, plus all the other tools available on the website for a low monthly cost of $10 a month. I'm actually pretty proud of this underdog PGA best ball tool that I created over the past week, where I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with underdog best ball drafts or PGA, but I'll pull it up here real quick because it's pretty awesome. It's a pretty big advantage, I think. So let me just pull it up real quick, give myself a self pat in the back here. So if you guys follow fantasy golf at all, it is starting this week. We got the Sony Open this week. Got to provide some time to load here. But pretty much what we can do is we could go pick by pick. And as you're doing your draft, let's say you get Scottie Scheffler in your first pick, you would add him into your player pool. And then let's say you get Cameron Young on the way back and you're able to pair him up with Jordan Spieth. So you have 3 players on your team. Then you can see, all right, which events am I missing? Because underdog does it by round. And so the interesting thing about golf is there's a Florida swing, there's a California swing, there's a Texas swing, And those are kind of the rounds. And so you want to get golfers that are going to play in each round. You get 6 starts per round or per event. Sorry. And so the more golfers you can get in a specific tournament, and then obviously per round is great. You want to have your lineups advance out of round 1, but you also don't want to leave your round 2 and round 3 lineups on an island. And so that's what this tool is doing. And it'll tell you the events that are needing attention after you draft someone. And then it'll tell you the potential best picks that you can use. And so it has it by the ADP. Now, you can go through during the draft and click out of players that have been drafted. But let's just say, I don't know, again, we're just making random picks. We get some more players in there. Let's just say those were my next sort of picks. Go back to the view my team coverage. We're going to see we need the Farmers Insurance Open. We need the Texas Houston Open and CJ Cup and RBC Canadian Open. The tool is then telling us who are the best picks that we can get to based off of needing to get to players in those events. Like our next pick would be Andrew Novak, Stevens, and then Aaron Rai potentially. And so we could do that again. We'll just do that. But anyways, we get that, and then we get up to 12 golfers here. I'm just going to put in random golfers now, just for showing you. And then we get a grade of the draft as well. So it'd say, oh, this was a C draft, and I clicked out of it now. Let's see if it'll pop up again if I add in someone again. There we go. C draft because there's 3 events with gaps: the Farmers, Texas, and Texas Children's Open, and then CJ Cup. Again, kind of proud of that tool. So if you guys are playing best ball drafts, I think it's a good time to get in there. It goes live on Thursday morning. There's still about 55% of the lineups available or drafts available for, it's like a $10 contest. You guys can use that tool while you're doing the draft. Again, that's going to be included in your $10 monthly membership. So that's included as well as the NBA tool. But again, I want to show you guys that. I think it's a fun tool. That is going to do it though, guys. Appreciate you being here. Good luck with